I'm Dr. SCL. I'm a dad, a chiropractor, and the translator you didn't know you needed in this, the first year of parenting. This is Decoded, the first year, the podcast that turns baby brain confusion, mum burnout, and milestone panic into clarity you can actually use. Let's make sense of the chaos by decoding it together. In the last episode, we talked about something most parents have never been told, and that is that your baby communicates through movement long before milestones ever show up on a chart. Today, I want to take that idea, make it real, not theoretical, not abstract. We're going to look at a few very common milestones, particularly the ones that parents worry about the most. And I want to show you why timing tells you very little and how your baby gets there tells you almost everything. This is Decoded, the first year. I'm Dr. SCL, chiropractor, dad, nervous system and baby translator. So, milestone charts ask one simple question. Can your baby do a certain thing by this age? But your baby's nervous system is asking a very different question. It's asking, can I organise myself well enough to do this thing without borrowing from somewhere else? And that's the part that charts don't measure. They don't tell you how your baby rolled. They don't tell you what muscles were stabilising. They don't tell you whether the movement was calm, organised, repeatable, or rushed, tense, or compensatory. They don't ask questions about symmetry. So let's decode that together. Let's start with rolling. Rolling is often treated like a tick box milestone. Did it happen by X months? Yes or no? But neurologically, rolling is one of the first very big tests of organisation. A well-organised roll shows midline control, smooth weight shift between left and right, and ultimately head, trunk, and pelvis all working together. A rushed roll often looks dramatic, clunky, robotic. Very rarely will it be symmetrical. The child will be throwing their head, arching their back, using momentum of other parts of their body instead of control. Now, according to a chart, both count as rolling. But one is building a stable nervous system, the other is falling with grace. Now let's talk about sitting. Sitting is not a skill your baby learns. It's a result of everything that became before it. A baby who sits well can adjust when they wobble, breathe freely, and use their hands without toppling over. A baby who sits early without that foundation often sits by locking their hips, a rigid spine, and lots of effort. This is why artificial sitting props and supports are awful, because it makes things look impressive, but the nervous system is working overtime just to stay upright. Now, crawling. This one matters. It matters to such a high degree that in their wisdom, the CDC, who seems to dictate healthcare policies around the world, removed crawling as a developmental milestone simply because so many babies no longer crawl well. Just sit with that for a moment. For crawling is one of the most neurologically rich movements your baby will ever do. It requires coordination between left and right sides of the brain, weight bearing between the shoulders and hips, vision, balance, and proprioception all working together. And yet it was recently removed from an official developmental milestone list. Just sit with that. Is that not nuts? Instead of asking why fewer babies are crawling, we simply lowered the expectation. From a nervous system perspective, that is not progress. That's adapting the framework to match mediocrity and dysfunction. Just because something has become common doesn't mean it's normal and definitely doesn't mean it's optimal. Babies who skip crawling will often still walk, but what they miss is the organisation that crawling builds, the wiring between hemispheres, the shoulder stability, the sensory calibration that supports learning later on. And that ultimately brings us to walking. Walking is often treated as the grand finale, the goal, the finish line. But walking is not the achievement. Walking is the expression of everything that came before it in the first 12 months. A well-organised walker has control before speed, adaptability before confidence, balance without tension. An early walker without that foundation often walks by bracing. They have a wide stance, high muscle tone, minimal rotation. But yet it counts, according to a chart. But the nervous system is compensating, and compensation will always show up later in life. So what do I most commonly see in practice? I'll often see two babies the same age, both sitting independently. One can twist, reach, recover, and play. The other topples over the moment their centre of gravity changes or they're not supported. Same milestone, same timing, very different nervous systems. Or I'll see a baby who skipped crawling and walked early, and years later they're struggling with coordination, especially hand-eye, attention or endurance. Not because anything went wrong, but because something important was never built. The body always remember what it didn't get to organise. So here's the reframe I want you to really hold on to. Your baby is not behind because a milestone hasn't shown up yet. They may simply be building it properly. Charts tell you when to worry. Observation tells you what's actually happening. If you want learning how to read some of those signs, including what matters and what doesn't, and when support is useful versus when patience is powerful, you can send me a DM at Mount Hawthorn Chiropractic and get a copy of my Baby Milestone Decoder, where we go into this in more detail. It's there to give you clarity, not pressure. As always, Mum, you're crushing this. Dr. SCL, out. Thanks for listening to Decoded, the first year, where we translate the mess of early parenting into something that actually makes sense. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, a partner, or a mum that you know who is quietly struggling through the noise and secretly Googling every milestone. If you want to hear more decoding, follow at Mount Hawthorn Chiropractic on the socials. Let's keep decoding the chaos. No mansplaining, no pressure, no judgment, just clarity when you need it most. Please note, this podcast isn't medical advice. It's just smart strategies from a Gonstead chiropractor, a dad, and someone who's been in the room with hundreds of mums trying to make sense of their baby's development, their own postpartum recovery, and the constant noise that comes with modern parenting. Always chat with your health team for specific care.